because his love doesn't exist. Episode 33.
Siyeon, good news. The boss is gonna get discharged next week.
Really, Sukwi? Is he completely well now?
He hasn't fully recovered, and his wife hasn't said much else. But anyway, she asked me to look for a small, nearby vacation cabin, so I'm busy at the moment.
What's up with the cabin?
The boss said he'd never return back to his house.
As soon as I heard that news about my birth father, my heart felt heavy.
He said if all else fails, he'd go stay at a hotel, but those hotel fees are quite expensive, as you know. He's in a difficult situation as he is.
My father wouldn't want to return to a house that faces grandmother.
But I don't know whether I'd be able to find a nearby cabin.
Now's the change. How about my place?
Huh? The place you're at now? I thought you said it belongs to your family who lives abroad. And besides, finding the boss a new home won't be quick. How are you going to live with him until then?
I can use the second floor, and he and his wife can use the first. And it's close to the factory. He wouldn't have any trouble commuting.
That sounds real nice, but I'm just worried it might be uncomfortable for you. They're nice people, but you guys are strangers, you know? How are you gonna share the same house?
I'll be fine, and besides, I'll be less scared than living alone. I was thinking about putting it out on lease to share with other tenants anyway. It's too big to live on my own.
But are you allowed to rent out your family's apartment like that?
What? Yeah, it's fine. We'll just be sharing one house, that's all. Sometimes, Sukwi has a keen eye for these things.
Okay. Tren until the CEO finds a new home, no deposit, and utilities including gas, water, and electricity. How about 300,000 won per month? About $300.
Isn't that too expensive?
I knew you'd say that. You dummy. With no deposit, at 300,000 won with all utilities included? They're gonna use the whole floor, and you say that's expensive? Heck, I'd live at your place at that price.
It's not like I'm trying to make money off of them.
I know you're trying to do this for the boss. But that's not right. If it was someone else, I would have stopped them. But it's the boss and his wife we're talking about. So I feel rather bad for you.
I am fine.
But thankfully, Yunhai is commuting, and asked to stay at her Hanam house.
That probably means she's going to stay at grandmother's place, and not my father's. And if that's not the case, then it'd be the house in Icon.
Okay, including the gas, water, and electricity, let's settle for 500,000 won a month. About 500 USD. His wife said something around 1.0000000 won a month. So this is a nice middle ground. About 1,000 US dollars. His wife said something around 10 million won a month. So this is a nice middle ground. About 1,000 US dollars. His wife said something around 10 million won a month. So, this is a nice middle ground. About 1,000 US dollars.
Okay.
And anyway, it was the boss who asked us to always make sure you had something to eat. So just consider this an opportunity to thank him for that.
He did that.
Yeah, ever since you moved into the neighborhood, he asked me to take good care of you. Maybe he was worried seeing a young girl like you struggling to make a living on your own.
Every day at lunch, Sukwi would call me up to eat with her. And every weekend, Yunsu would come pick me up. And Chief would always pack me food for the week. Thanks to these people, I never once felt lonely even though I was alone in a new town. And then there's my father. I had always thought I was the only one who was longing for him. But I never thought he'd be thinking of me during all this time and taking care of me.
Let's cut the phone conversation out. If you're not busy, then make your way over here. You're about to have new guests in your house, so you should buy some stuff you might need.
One positive thing I got out of being switched at birth with Yunhai was that I became close with these people.
Oh, and don't worry about the money. If I mention that you were buying stuff you need for the boss, Mansoor will probably give you his card. And while you're at it, you might as well get a little something for yourself, hehe.
What is that itch in my ear?
If everyone found out that I was the boss's birth daughter, they'd all be very surprised. But they'd all treat me the same as they do now. Unlike the people that left me, they'd stay by my side. Sure. Oh, and Sukwi, if it's alright, do you and the others want to come by my place and have dinner? And to celebrate the boss's discharge, we can all discuss some things.
Great. Then should Chief and I get some pork belly and lettuce on the way? I'll tell Yensu to get the alcohol.
Yeah, that sounds good. Today is the day I say goodbye to Siyeon Kim.
So all we have to do today is move the things the boss's wife packed in advance?
Yeah, my house isn't that big, so they're gonna leave the furniture and large belongings, and they agreed to move only their essentials.
Oh, and she asked us to tell Yunhai to visit the hospital if she was around the house.
Aren't they able to reach her?
They said it's hard for them to get in contact with her or see her face. The only time Yunhai texts them is to say that she's busy. So the boss's wife is really frustrated. All they want is to see Yunhai's face before they move. But that brat just isn't cooperating. Isn't Yunhai concerned about her father in the hospital at all?
Even for Yunhai, it must be a big shock. Gwihyeon, who is to marry her in a few months, is lying unconscious in the hospital. We're at the boss's place.
Let's head on up. Was it apartment 301?
Have you been here before?
Didn't you hear that I used to tutor Yunhai? These fingers still memorize the door passcode.
Aha.
I know no one's here, but hello.
The house my parents have lived in until now.
Gosh, it's so dark even though it's daytime.
This is the house that I could only look at from a distance from beyond the fence. It's strange how I could only come to this place when they had no choice but to leave.
Stay here and look after the boxes. I'll do the loading back and forth.
I'll help.
No. The boss's wife was concerned about moving without saying goodbye to their neighbors. She asked us to tell them that she and the boss would say goodbye later. While I move these boxes, you can go and tell them.
Tell me if you need help, I'll give you a hand.
Don't be absurd. I was discharged as an army sergeant with full honors. I'll see you later.
The place where my mother asked us to deliver their message was none other than Yunhai's grandmother's place. The door only opened a long while after multiple ringings of the bell.
What are you doing here?
Hello, grandmother. Would you let me inside for a moment? I have something to say to you.
Don't you know what all is plaguing our household? What are you doing? Are you here to add fuel to the fire?
You're brazen enough to talk, having stolen an innocent girl away from her family just to save your granddaughter. You shouldn't talk to me like that, you should be apologizing, grandmother.
What did you say? Don't you know that you grew up so pristinely, thanks to us? And yet, you still hold a grudge against me?
I'm not from around here, so it doesn't matter to me. But you've lived here long enough, tell me. Should you be shouting so loudly around this neighborhood?
That's...
I'll be off then.
Siyeon.
I had something to say, and since you're both here, it's for the better. Why haven't you told grandfather in Suwon that we were switched at birth?
We know fully well about the situation in the head house in Suwon. How could we tell them now? We were going to tell him as soon as Gwihyeon wakes up.
And what if he doesn't wake up?
Siyeon.
It's already been weeks since Gwihyeon's accident. Grandfather comes to me worrying every day about the wedding. How we should get it done as soon as possible. How long must I hear his vain wishes?
We are always really sorry to you. But, considering the old man's health, we don't want to shock him too much.
You must have heard the news from the hospital, father. News that we might have to give up Gwihyeon in that state. I'll give you 1 week. Within the week, I expect you to tell grandfather in Suwon and his family the truth. If you don't do that, I'm thinking of telling them from my perspective.
No. No. You can't do that.
So they hadn't yet told the family in Suwon the truth, knowing fully well about Gwihyeon's condition.
Don't you even feel sorry for Yunhai? She's just about to begin her life and be happy. Do you feel better by blocking out her future?
I felt a greater sense of disappointment toward the ones I once trusted and followed. And how am I blocking out her future?
You can just pretend like you don't know anything for a moment. Is that so hard? The truth will get out once Gwihyeon wakes up, anyway. What's the rush?
So, about this truth that will get out once Gwihyeon wakes up. Aren't you hoping that he doesn't get better, so the truth doesn't have to be exposed? Immediately after Gwihyeon's accident, the Suwon parents and grandfather made Ijin return back to the country. But Gwihyeon's condition couldn't have been the sole reason to have called Ijin in. They knew that Ijin would eventually take the place of Gwihyeon in the head family. This is something even I had caught on to. I'm sure they knew this too. And if Gwihyeon doesn't wake up, Ijin is the next in line in the Jong family, meaning he will get to be the owner of Midnight Sun Foods Inc.